Okay, so you guys dared me in the last episode to do this, so this is my new intro, but only for this one episode, so yeah, let's just cut to it. Welcome, I'm the LegendaryPokéMaster, and today's topic of discussion is Generation 4 remakes. Will they make them or will they not? And if so, when and on what console? I noticed this was of a lot of people's concern in one of my previous videos where I listed 5 things that we need in the Generation 4 remakes. So I started to wonder if they're going to make any at all, and if so, when, which I just kinda said, but yeah. Without further ado, we're gonna get to that, so let's start. So first, I'm going to answer the first question, and yes! That's 2 firsts in a row, which just sounds like a great proper English, you know? We should actually look at if Sinnoh remakes could happen. They will. And this is why. Sinnoh games are the most critically panned Pokemon games besides Generation 5. Don't hate on Gen 5. It is the best gen of all gens according to the Gen 5er Lodge in Unova, Sweden. Anyway, as I mentioned in that previous video, there is quite a bit of improvement to be had in Generation 4. While the 3 Sinnoh games are very good games by my standards, their plot was a bit too slow-paced for my liking. And some of the features, such as the underground multiplayer thing, would really be great with the modern technology with something like the 3DS. And considering they've made 3 remakes before, I highly doubt they would just randomly stop at Generation 3. Why is Gen 3 so privileged when Gen 4 obviously is much better? Oh, I think I got a lot more dislikes than I would have if I didn't say that. You know what then? It's just a prank, bro. Look, I have them all. I am not biased. I have Generation 1, Generation 4, Generation 6, Generation 7, Generation 5, Generation 2, and Generation 3! Where are you? Okay then, moving on to the point of when the games will be released, the Pokemon Company can be very unpredictable when it comes to timing. So that's what makes predicting when a Sinnoh remake would come out hard. Up until Generation 5, the Pokemon Company released a remake of a game made 2 generations prior alongside the current generation. They re-continued the remaking of games in Generation 6. So normally, I would guess that they would make a Sinnoh remake in Gen 7, right? However, like I said before, there's that one gap in the data, Generation 5. So this might suggest something to me that I've been thinking. Maybe they're putting off making remakes of games because the old games can be played on current hardware. This would follow the pattern since Heart Gold and Soul Silver. How it works is this. They didn't make a Johto game until the Nintendo DS came out, because the DS's predecessor, the Game Boy Advance, could still play the original games. The same goes for Hoenn remakes. They waited until the 3DS came out because the DS hardware could play the original Ruby and Sapphire. So, following this pattern, we most likely wouldn't see a Generation 4 remake appear on the 3DS, because it's still capable of playing the original Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. Now I'm about to get into a theory about Nintendo itself. So prepare yourself, because it's not all Pokemon. This is also about the NX! Oh wait, the Switch. I still call it the NX, because that sounds cooler. Currently, no handheld system has been announced yet for the incoming hardware generation from Nintendo. Given that the Nintendo handheld hardware usually is announced before a Nintendo home console, we could probably predict that the NX will serve as the sole console out of Nintendo this generation. So in that case, the Pokemon games will probably go from the 3DS to the NX. Supposedly, the NX is not backwards compatible at all, which would render it unable to play the original Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. If it's untrue, the NX would probably most likely not even be able to play Platinum, Diamond, or Pearl anyway in only 3DS games, because usually they only go backward one generation when it comes to backwards compatibility. So basically, it's a lose-lose for the originals either way, hinting that according to the current pattern, Generation 4 remakes would most likely come out on the NX. However, that still leaves us with one question left. When will it happen? Well, Generation 7 already kicked off on the 3DS, and the rest of Gen 7 will also probably most likely be on the 3DS. You know, so the future games can still communicate with Sun and Moon, and the actual idea of having a separated generation doesn't become obsolete. That said, they'll probably do something like in Generation 5. Hey, no. That being that they make an enhanced version or sequel of the original games of Generation 7, those being Sun and Moon, in place of the remakes. Then they would end off Gen 7 and put the Sinnoh remakes in Generation 8. This is very speculative, especially for this early in Generation 7, but I'm going to go out there and say Diamond and Pearl remakes would probably come out in late 2018 or early 2019 based on this pattern. Basically, not 2017. However, since this is so speculative, this is probably wrong. In fact, apparently there have been hints at a Pokemon game coming to the NX soon. So maybe they'll port future games to both the 3DS and the NX for the rest of Generation 7. But what do you think? Will there be Sinnoh remakes? And if so, when and on what console? Please leave a comment down below proving me wrong, because oh boy do I love being proved wrong. You could also subscribe if you're new to see videos like this at least twice per week. Regardless of whether or not you do that stuff, be sure to prepare your Explorer kit, and I'll see you in the next video.